All right, so Mark, this is a board game show, and we've been talking about board games, but do you know what a board game show has to do?
Uh, have a theme song or a
Yes,
dance break. Is that right?
yes, dance party.
Yeah.
No, we got to play we got to play a board game. So I'm going to let the producer, Steve, the name father, tell you all about what game we're going to be doing tonight.
Okay, we're going back to an old favorite here. It's, for those who have been watching the show, you know that
Dance
the
party.
ENVIE game means we're going to have the guest come up with a game. They'll think of a game that they would want to play, that if they had the perfect setup, the perfect location, the perfect time, the perfect audience, the perfect play partners, this would be the game that they might pick. And they're going to want to do it in a way that's kind of crafty, because we're going to do it kind of like 20 questions. BJ and I will ask some questions. People in the chat will be able to chime in with their questions. And it's going to be a race to see who can figure out what game Mark is bringing to the table without telling us what it is. So, Mark, do you have a game that you have in mind? Don't tell us, but do you have one ready?
Yeah, like we're allowed to be decently obscure, like as long as it's legitimate.
If so long as BJ probably knows exactly what game I'm going to refer to. So
Yeah.
long as you are not talking about the McDonald's game that
What was it? The Happy Meal game?
with a Happy Meal of some
Yeah.
sort, then I think we're okay.
No,
Thanks,
this
Al,
is
for
this
doing
is a
that.
game that it's not too obscure. I mean, good luck
Okay.
at least, but
It's not too obscure, but you're in for it, is what
this
you're
is
saying.
one of my favorite games. So
Okay.
even though
Oh,
Very
it's
I'm
cool.
game.
not the most mainstream,
Very good.
Oh,
it's
we got some people in the chat. So look, we need some help from everybody.
Okay.
Mark's given us a challenge. We've had some easy ones lately, Steve. So, but
I don't know about we. You've gotten them lately. You've been hot lately.
I've been hot, but this goes back to some challenges. I feel like this is going to be a challenge. So everybody in that chat crew, get ready. So Mark, do you feel like you know the rules of the game?
yeah, I think so.
It's
If
Yavi.
y'all get this in 2 guesses, then I have another one that'll take at least 3 guesses.
And just like they say in New York, you have a hankering for this game.
Oh yeah, I'm ready.
Okay, good.
All
I'm
right.
going to start out with the first question, Steve. Is it a competitive or is it a cooperative game? And I'm going to guess it's competitive based on our conversation tonight, but maybe I'm wrong.
That is a difficult question.
Oh, really?
Interesting
I
setting,
think-
perhaps.
I think that it is a competitive game more than it's a cooperative game. It's got to be a competitive game.
Interesting.
Competitive.
but that's a little hint, I think, Steve. I'll let
I
you
think
take it.
that's actually pretty informative. That's
Yeah, right.
Narrow-
You just asked the perfect question. I gave
gotta-
away
we
more
gotta
than I
know the
wanted
right
to in
one
one
to ask
question.
next.
What a great question.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
all right. Good question. I guess I'll try to narrow down in terms of time frame. Is it something
But
that's
while
been
Steve's
published
thinking,
that's-
we will, if the chat crew does ask questions, we're going to interrupt
absolutely
each
we'll
other
chime
to
in
do
with
that.
theirs
Okay,
too.
Mark?
They beat us to the
Yeah.
punch if we
Yeah,
see
they get free questions. Steve and I have 20, but they get free questions. So go ahead.
Is it something that has been published in say published new in the last 10 years? Relatively new.
It is no.
So it's older than
It's
that.
older than 10 years.
Okay. All right.
Does it have miniatures? Does it have minis?
It
Not
doesn't have
standees, little plastic minis, or
it doesn't
stuff
have
like
plastic minis. Like you wouldn't count like meeples as miniatures, would
that.
you?
No.
Okay.
I'm talking about like dudes on a map type of game.
It does not have any plastic minis or standees or anything.
Okay.
Okay. So I'm looking at the chat. I'm not seeing Time Roller or Kelly chiming in with the next question. So let's think about this here.
I've got
For
one.
people,
if you're stumped.
let's say for people who are like regular gamers, is this something that they might be recognizing the designer of, like a
Oh.
name that would be recognizable to folks in the gaming industry?
Like a Mark McGee, you're saying, Steve, right?
Exactly. You know,
This
like
designer-
Knizia, Feld, McGee, the biggie.
They've designed enough things that if you're into this genre, you probably
Okay.
heard of them.
Okay, good.
Like an O'Rourke. You know what I mean? That's what we're talking about. The Pantheon up there. an
Well,
O'Rourke.
yeah. You know, there's
Like a
just so
Bell.
much room on Rushmore.
Like a
Yeah, yeah.
J Bell.
If you're into this category of games, I think it's possible.
Was it a P500 game?
No.
Okay, like a GMT game. So
Okay.
no. Okay.
I feel like he's leading us by saying this category of games.
Yeah.
Feels like there's
I
something
know.
in
I
there.
can't. I
It's not
can't
just
falsely answer the
a
question.
mechanism
Oh.
that he's hinting at.
Oh, is
He's
it
talking
like
about something?
that sounds like a Volky game? Is it a Volky game?
It is not.
Oh, it's not. Oh.
Kelly's chiming in with asking about if there's worker placement as a mechanism.
No.
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 So it's
Okay.
it's not a
All right.
is
so
it a coin
yeah,
game?
It is
that's
not
interesting.
a coin game.
Okay, I'm hitting the stump here. Steve.
That's what
You
I'm
go ahead.
thinking about there. It's not like a mechanic. It is a grouping. It's something that it's like there's some flavor that we're missing there.
Okay, to
All right.
recap, Chakra, it's a
Yep.
competitive sort of game
Competitive,
that did not come out in the last. Wait, it came out recently or it didn't come out recently?
older than 10 years.
It's older than 10
Yeah.
years. It's by a designer. If you knew that genre, you'd recognize. It's not a worker placement, and it wasn't a GMT / P500 / Boki coin game. She wants to know if it's got dice or cards. All right, which one? Go ahead.
It does not have dice. It does have cards. It's
It
got
does
lots
have
of
cards. No dice. Okay.
No dice.
Steve, you got a question?
It does have cards. I'm trying to think about what's going to be the kind of thing that will narrow down so much.
Does it have a board?
It does have a board.
It does have a board. All right. Let's think about time frame maybe to play. Is a game that takes an hour and a half or less or longer?
About an hour and a half. Almost
Oh,
right
yeah.
at an hour and a half. Yeah.
There we go. Okay. About an hour and a half. There are
Uh,
cards.
Is it an area control game?
Not in the classic sense, no. There's some elements of area control, but it's not primarily area control.
I was running toward Eric Ling there, Steve, but now I'm thinking, no.
Yeah. Okay.
How about some themes? You got some ideas for themes?
I was
Steve?
just thinking about that. I was not sure that I wanted to. It doesn't
Oh,
look like it's gonna be
let
an
me ask
IP
one question
game.
before you
It
do
might
that.
be helpful.
Is it based on an IP?
That's what I was thinking.
An
but I don't think
established
it would be.
IP?
It is not.
It's not.
Yeah. So I think rather than asking about the IP, getting to the concept of a setting is where we're looking at here. Is this a space game?
It is not a space game.
Timmy wants to know, is it a historical simulation or even loosely based on history?
It is definitely based on history.
Okay.
Yeah, closer to a simulation than an abstract. I mean, every game is some amount of an abstraction, but yeah, calling it a historical based game would be accurate.
Would you call it a Civ game then?
No.
Because that's the cat. And you were saying category. I'm thinking that was the way to think about a category.
Does it have
Category
the
might be slightly misleading, but
Okay.
All right, clarify what you mean by historical, if you don't mind. What do you mean by that?
the setting of the game is an actual real life setting that happened in history.
Okay. Interesting. So, I don't know
You
why
said
I'm leaning toward those Martin
competitive.
Wallace games like the Halifax Hammer, you know?
Oh, interesting. You're not thinking it's a few acres of snow?
Yeah, that's what I'm
Okay.
thinking, man. What do you think?
Yeah, I'm thinking he might be hinting at the idea of it being like a war game or something.
Yeah. And if it were a war game, we played those, we would know that designer, which would be, Martin Wallace, right? Or somebody
Yeah,
like
maybe.
that. I was thinking
Take a stab
also,
at somebody?
I was thinking of the Fort Circle games, but none of those are that old. So
No. They'd be older than that.
Oh,
Again,
Mark,
I'm getting old. 10 years old is 2014.
the wheels
So
are turning.
These are not old games.
Is it still
Alright.
in print, Mark?
Ooh, good question.
Yeah, I saw it. I saw it for sale at a convention last year. So it's definitely still in print.
Okay.
And there's been at least a second edition made of it. So that's the same game, I guess. So
Hey, Evan's checking in. Evan, we need some help. We're going to recap before we
Yeah.
get to Flair Blue's question. It's competitive, sort of. We would recognize the designer if we played that genre. It's got both a board and card, but no dice or minis. It takes about 90 minutes. and it's got a historical theme. Did I miss anything? No worker placement. It was not a GMT/P500/coin game. So
Not really area control, but there was something to it that kind of felt like it.
Yeah, like if you wanted to stretch what area control means, someone can make an argument, but I don't think anyone would say, "Oh, this is mostly an area control game." I don't.
So Flare Blue wants to know: are there meeples in the game?
Yeah, there are wooden shaped things that represent things. They're not. I don't think anything's a meeple shape, not a classic meeple shape, but they are wooden cutout figures.
Yeah, I was thinking. Now see, Steve. I was thinking El Grande with the Caballeros and all that, but that is area control. I mean, that is about as pure of an area control.
Yeah,
as
that's
you
pure
get.
area control.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He wants to know if it's a Feld game, Bruges.
It's not a Feld game.
Oh, it's not a
You
Feld
said
game
there
at
were
all.
no dice, right? You said there were no dice.
No dice.
No dice.
Okay.
No dice.
So that would take out some of those
Evan.
Feldy games with dice.
Yeah, good question. Good question from Evan, though.
Okay.
What?
And that it has a historical setting. That it's kind of simulating something that happened in a particular real world location in the past.
Yes.
Yeah.
Let's just ask this straight out. Is it a war game?
The historical setting is a war.
Okay, so the historical setting is a war. That.
Okay.
So that means it's not a Command and Colors type thing, because it's not like a broad thing like Memoir 44. It sounds like it's recreating a certain battle or event. Is that about right?
Okay.
No, it's not. It's simulating an entire war.
Oh man.
Is the location for it Europe?
Europe is on the map, but
could it be
Combat
Commander?
The entire planet is on the map.
The entire planet is on the map. Evan, it's more than 10 years old. Timey says Europe in Flames.
I'm looking at these. It's not Twilight Struggle, not The Grizzled, not Undaunted, and not Europe in Flames. Yeah, not any of those.
And it also is going to be about an hour and a half long. So that if the map is, the whole world is on the map, we're not talking about something at the level of Blitzkrieg. We're talking about a bigger sized game.
Yeah. It's not. Yeah, it's not a. It's
the whole world is on the map.
I mean, it's not Risk or Axis and Allies. That's super classic old.
Okay.
Oh man, I mean, I keep coming back to A Few Acres of Snow. That's what I keep coming back to.
Yeah, but that doesn't have the whole map. That's just the.
No, that's right.
It needs to be. That's why again, Twilight Struggle was that thought. There is time frame is right.
And his hint at the start, it can't be Memoir 44. That would be too simple.
That's clearly a competitive game. I mean, it's mostly competitive. There's only one thing about it that makes me not say 100% it is pure competitive, even though it's a competitive game.
Okay, so it's got a thinking. This is where I'm thinking, Steve. Let's try to think of a game that it's got a mechanic sort of like Oz Australia, where everybody is competitive. But if we don't beat Cthulhu, then we all lose, right? What games are like that from a historical setting more than 10 years ago? That's where we need to go.
But also, I'm latching onto the fact that he said there's been a second edition, like it's still in print. That should be something that helps us too, shouldn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. That would be on my dusty shelf over there somewhere, man. looking to see. I'm stumped, Steve. What about you?
Is it a solo design? One designer or
one designer?
Solo
yes.
design, one designer.
An American designer?
Yeah, almost 100% sure he's American.
Oh, man. Okay, so wow.
Okay, so if it's a war game, is
that Richard Borg? Is it a Richard Borg game?
No.
Okay.
Is it? No, that'd be too long. I was going to ask if it was Volko. Those would tend to be long.
Oh, that's what I was trying to say. I was trying to say Volko. What did I say earlier? I had the wrong name. I was trying to say Volko.
I was thinking about something. It's not Labyrinth.
No.
No.
be too
I'm
long.
stumped, Steve. I'm gonna have to tap out. I don't know.
All right, we might have to break glass for emergency hint. Do you have something that would lead these people wandering in the wilderness to get
All right,
closer?
I'm gonna call Mark the winner on this one.
I think we're going to kick. I am telling you, we're going to kick ourselves when we hear the answer because it's going to be so obvious.
Why I had so much on the very first question. It is a team game. There are two teams that play against each other, but you have teammates on your side, and you are on the same team.
All right.
That's why I had so much in the competitive. It's definitely team versus team, but you are on the same team as
but you are competing with the other team and you're cooperating with your own. That makes perfect sense.
Okay.
All right.
But I'm still stumped.
That gets me closer.
You got it, Steve, or are you gonna call it?
I know. No, I'm thinking that actually is help. It should be helpful, but I'm trying to think of games like that would be team war games.
I can only think of one team war game.
Oh, yeah, like
this one.
Operation Overlord with Memoir 44 is team based. Yeah. I don't know if you're thinking of something else, but
Evan is saying Captain Sonar Crunch.
Ever the jokester. Nice one, Evan.
Yeah, that's nicely played.
Captain Sonar Crunch. I'm stumped, Steve. I'm out.
I'm thinking this is a game that I've heard of but not played. Do you have something that would lead us to the final answer?
All right, let's see.
Are we gonna surrender and submit?
All right, here's the other thing. It is best at 6 players. Then you have a 3 versus 3 team game. No matter how many people play, there are 3 countries on each team.
Wow.
And the countries represent the Axis versus the Allies are the 2 teams.
Okay. So we've got what's the World War II team game that we're missing?
Yeah. It's not diplomacy. It's why, man. We got U-boat, we've got diplomacy, we've got unconditional surrender.
It is not those. Maybe I picked something too obscure.
Oh, he's got it.
No, you made us work for it. That's good. But I do feel like we're going to have heard of this and say, "Oh," at the end. Oh, I see it now.
Bye.
Oh, Evan's on fire.
Yeah. And there's a solo version, Diplomacy.
Diplomacy, says Evan. Only 2 teams.
I think I'm cooked.
You know what? I'm gonna give one last guess, and I'm positive this is it. It's After the Empire by Evan from Portland Gamecraft. No, it's not it. Okay, no, it's not After the Empire.
No. I think I'm going to call Uncle on this.
All right, Mark, what we got?
All right, it is Quartermaster General.
Oh, yes, Quartermaster General.
When you said no, it's not Command and Colors, I didn't even follow. Quartermaster.
If I had exactly 6 players, every time I have exactly 6 players, I'm like, forget everything else we were doing. This is the game to play. It is without a doubt my favorite 6-player game. It's one of my favorite games in total, but it's so uncommon to have exactly 6 people.
Time Roller said it right there. Yeah, duh. I've never actually played it, so it wasn't top of mind, Steve.
Either.
Yeah,
as soon as you started to say it, I'm like, oh, of course, it's Quartermaster General.
Yeah.
But it's funny. Everything makes sense in retrospect. All your clues were right on it. We were bad.
Well, so you mentioned 10 years ago, the 2nd edition came out in 2014. So I was like 10 years. I didn't want to have like another kind of. But
you know what my other problem is, Steve? I've never played it, and I didn't even know who designed it. I didn't know Ian Brody designed it, so that wouldn't have been a name that would have picked me up.
The name would have helped
you stumped us, Mark.
The 2nd edition should have helped us more.
Actually, the 2nd edition came out in 2020. The original was 2014. So,
but it's one of those games, Steve, that is exactly what you said. It's a game that you and I haven't played, so we didn't know all the details about it. But as soon as Mark said it, we're like, oh, we should have known what that is. So, yeah,
absolutely right. Good job.
If you ever have a chance, though, I wholeheartedly recommend it. It is such a fascinating design. Like the thing that makes it interesting is the team play. Like I play one country, and just by myself, my turns are not terribly impressive. But the fact that I can set up my teammates for success, and we can combo off of each other, that's what makes it really interesting.
And it's about an hour and a half. I think I had in my head that it was just going to be a longer, like, pack your lunch. It's an all-day game.
No, it especially if you have people who have played it before, you can go really snappy. But it's actually faster at 6 players because there's always 6 countries to play, and if you're playing with fewer, then somebody's got to play 2 hands. So the fastest way to play is a full 6-player count, which is also pretty unusual for games.
Well, that was fantastic, Mark. You went on that one. That was a great choice. That was our ENVIE game presented by our friends at Game Toppers LLC. Make your game nights a showstopper when you play on a Game Topper. All right, board gamers, that's it for another episode of Gumbo Live. I want to thank our guest, Mark McGee from How to Steam Broccoli. That is the designer and publisher of Tether. Remind them again, if they want to get a copy of the fantastic game, 2 and 4 players, unlike Quartermaster General, if you have 6 players, you need to get Quartermaster General Tether, which you're working on.
Quartermaster General Blob.
Right, right.
You have to blob it.
Tether blob tether. Yeah, remind them, how can they get a copy? And if they have any questions about the game, how can they reach you?
Yeah, so we are an all-play partner. So if you go to allplay.com, you can find the partner store for How to Steam Broccoli. Or if you go to howtosteambroccoli.com, we got a link directly to the all-play store to get Tether.
Well, Mark, this was fantastic, man. I really enjoyed visiting with you and talking about the different games. Make sure to like our Facebook page out there, facebook.com. Board Game Gumbo, and our YouTube channel. It helps us get the word out about all of our upcoming shows. Next week, we're back in the Gumbo Pod on twitch.tv/Board Game Gumbo, playing your games live on Tuesday. We're going to be playing Vrahode. It's the Age of Prophecy. It's a brand new game from Weather Vane Games. It's coming out on Kickstarter next month. I am super excited. Steve, this is a dungeon crawly game that looks right up my alley. So I'm excited. We're going to stream that one. We should be streaming it next week if we can get all the rules down. Our goal, Mark, is to have at least 88% of the rules down really well before we stream those games, so we don't embarrass ourselves too much. That's our goal.
88% is really what matters.
88%. That's our goal. Catch us on Twitch next week. I'm BJ from Board Game Gumbo, and for Steve, and for Mark McGee, and the absent Verla, the Gumbo Overlord, and DJ Bell. Sorry they couldn't be in here, Mark. But till next time, Laissez, bon temps, rouler.
Bye, all.
See ya.
Good night.